Hello, thank you for joining us to talk more on Monday. This podcast was started to give a voice to More's mission of making opportunities reachable for everyone, and continues today as a way for us to share the mic with like-minded individuals with their own stories to share. Talking More has become our channel for history, mindsets, information you need, and featuring our interns who are learning how to share their voice. Make sure to join us on Patreon for our Masterclass with More, hosted by Bria Bradley, as she deep dives with experts on a host of topics key to building your business and legacy. You'll find our founder content hosted by our founder Ariana as part of our Masterclass, where business owners share lessons they've learned while in business. Today, we'll be discussing the critical role of self-advocacy for women's professional growth, the essential tools for navigating workplace inequities, and how leaders can actively champion the next generation of women. We'll also dive into the necessity of male allyship in accelerating systemic change for gender equity within organizations. Let's meet Bette Smith, our expert in organizational change and coach in championing people. Bette Smith, welcome to the show, is the director of the Center for Innovation and Collaboration at Ball State University and principal in Destra Consulting Group. She is a management and communications consultant and coach with over 20 years of experience. Bette works with organizations going through business transformation and specifically does the work of assessment, design, delivery, and evaluation of initiatives for companies and organizations in all industries. Her client portfolio includes CHS Inc., MoneyGram, Turner, Samsonite, Ralston Purina, AT&T, United Health Group, Farrer, and many more. She has extensive experience working with global companies. Destra's approach is to partner with our client throughout the design and delivery of our services. We believe combining our expertise with our client's expertise builds ownership in the effort, fuels greater success, and ultimately transfers knowledge and builds client capabilities. What a fantastic mission statement. Prior to joining Destra, Bette's positions included Vice President of Communications and Director of Organizational Learning at CQG Inc., a global software firm. Bette received her master's in social science with an emphasis in educational evaluation from the University of Colorado, Denver, and her Bachelor of Arts in Russian Studies from Bates College. Her certifications include Pro-C Change Practitioner and Bridges Method Coaching. That is amazing. What a bio.
Thank you, Chloe. I'm listening to it and I'm impressed with myself.
Right? I love it when that happens. Like, you know what? I'm quite accomplished.
Right.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're certainly
to be here.
Yeah, you're not a stranger to More in any way.
No, I'm a fan and a supporter. I love More.
Well, thank you for being here. We're super excited to get to talk to you about self-advocacy and all of your professional experience and what it means to stand up for yourself and show other people how to do the same. So let's get into it a little bit. You have a lot of experience advocating for yourself and others in professional settings. Why is it so crucial for women to advocate for themselves at and in their workplaces, and what obstacles can stand in the way of this?
Chloe, yeah, thanks for asking that question. So it is absolutely critical to do that, right? And I'm sure you've heard this. There are women who, a lot of us, I know I started out my career doing this, where the idea is like, I'll work really hard, right? So we work really hard and someone's going to notice. And then we wonder why we're not getting the best assignments or we're not getting the promotion.
Yeah.
And so I remind the women I coach, and I coach men and women, I remind people that it's important to both work hard and make that work visible.
Yeah.
We have to really show up for ourselves is one way to think about it. And I know that when I share that with some of the women I coach, they say, oh, that's really cringe. It's uncomfortable. You know, I don't want to, quote unquote, toot my own horn.
Right.
And if you don't do it, who's doing it? So it's really important to show what value you bring to the organization by sharing that with your manager, sharing it with your leader, letting people know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some systemic things in play there, especially when it comes to women, and why we kind of center the conversation around women advocating for themselves, because you wonder why that's their first initial reaction, is to cringe away from it and think like my work should speak for itself, even when it doesn't, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting that it's even an obstacle sometimes.
And I would say it's what you're saying, Chloe. The obstacle is our own mindset about what is appropriate and how we should show up in the work environment. And so I would just really encourage people to advocate for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what does that look like on a base level? Like, what does it mean to advocate for yourself?
What does it mean to advocate for yourself? So, I mean, I've just taken a new position, and I think it's been a little bit of a surprise to my manager that when we have our, we'll have a 1-1 every couple of weeks, and I come in with the list of, here are my wins for the last 2 weeks. Here are the things I've accomplished. Here's what's going on. Here are the wins the team has had.
Yeah.
It's not, of course, it's not just about you, especially as a leader. You're working with a team, and at the same time, my manager may be completely unaware of what I'm doing, especially if they're a good manager and they're not micromanaging.
Right.
So I think it's great to shine a light on the work that you're doing on a regular basis. And I think what happens is, especially in corporate environments where we're still doing things like annual performance evaluations, you can't do that once a year. You need to be sharing your wins, your accomplishments, the things that you're working on a regular basis.
Yeah. And then they've kind of always got it in the back of their mind. Like, I know this is done. I know they're working on it. I don't even need to ask because they already told me.
Yes.
And that feels good from the manager perspective, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. By doing that, you're making your leader look good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And during your career, how have you specifically spoken up for yourself and other women, and how was that received by your peers, by leadership? What did you learn from these moments?
Yeah, I love this question too. So I think I learned early on in my career to speak up for myself and to set boundaries. So I'm going to give an example. I mean, now I look back on it and maybe I'm not 100% proud of this. And, you mentioned I've been doing this work for more than 20 years. It's actually closer to more than 30 years that I've been working. And so I think back to some of my first positions and my first corporate job. And I would be asked to do some secretarial work. And I was not in an administrative position. I was in a higher level position. And other people, men, were not being asked to do those things. Yeah. And so at one point, I just said, well, I don't really type very well, even though
I'm sure you did.
I type like 90 words per minute, right? And so that was a way to just draw a line about what was in the scope for the position I had. Now, I've talked to other women who are my age, and it was a different time. It truly was. And I think things are much better. But she joked that she would tell them that she wasn't a coffee drinker and they wouldn't want her to make the coffee because it would taste terrible. And so she did not make the coffee. Yeah. And so there were little things like that. I think advocating for yourself in a leadership position, so advocating for myself now, speaking up is much easier, right? It's a different situation for sure. So
the more you do it, the easier it gets, right?
Yeah. Now it's very easy to share like what is in and out of scope for my position as I see it. And at the same time, through my whole career, I've been willing to do anything to get the job done. I'm like known as like a can-do person. And as long as everyone is expected to do that so that it's equal, I'm all in. Yeah.
They're not just coming to the women to type something up. That is funny though, because we talk about like the concept of weaponized incompetence. Like, I don't know how to load the dishwasher, so you should probably do it. But in this sense, I think it's really powerful because you're shirking a responsibility that never should have been put on you by, saying, I don't know.
Right. And that's why I said at the beginning, I'm not 100% proud of this, right?
But
I like to be clear and transparent about my skills.
Yeah. And that's, maybe now it's more like, that's not in my job description.
Yeah. And also as a leader, you never want to hear that either. I think it's just pointing out, we're asking Betty to do something, but we're not asking, I'll use my husband's name, Kevin, to do something.
Yeah.
And so that's where we might just make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're asked to take notes in a meeting, although AI does that for us now.
Yeah.
But let's say that's going on, and it still does go on.
Mm-hmm.
I might say, I'm happy to do that this meeting if Kevin's willing to do that the next meeting.
Yeah.
Let's share the load.
Share the load.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And it's a very equitable way to source that work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. What are some of those tools that women should have in their toolbox to deal with these difficult or inequitable situations that they're facing at work?
So the first thing I'd say is a sense of humor. I mean, you can't take everything lightly, and I totally understand that. And at the same time, we tend to take ourselves very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if it's a situation where you can have a sense of humor, that's fantastic. If it's a very serious situation, and I've had some over the course of my long career, then what's important to know is that you have agency and you have control. So I'm going to share a couple examples from my own experience. So I had a work colleague who, you know, we, in a way I would joke around about it. Like, he was kind of the Joe Biden of my environment. So I don't know if you know, but Joe would get into situations where he would inappropriately hug someone or touch them. So
touch their hair. It's like, what are you doing, Joe?
Yes, I had a work colleague who would just, you know, touch my knee or my back or my waist in a way that made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And this wasn't in a corporate environment or an organization where we had HR. So I really had to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I thought about it. I talked to people close to me, and I decided I needed to just have a very direct one-on-one conversation. And it worked. I mean, it took some reinforcement. And I like to always, if possible, assume positive intent.
Yeah.
That someone's not trying to make me uncomfortable. And this was a hard situation to do that in.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I really think this man did not realize that it was making me so uncomfortable. And so, yeah, it stopped. You know,
You reframed his mind about it. I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yeah, I think he really thought about it, which was good. Another situation I had, which was in an organization that did have HR, I had a male colleague who would yell at me. And so I did go to HR. And I think it's important to know what you can do in certain situations. And so no one should stand for harassment in the workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially any kind of aggression, like there's no excuse for that.
No.
There's no situation, even stressful situations, where there should be raised voices or, you know, aggressive language.
Exactly.
We'll figure it out.
And it's interesting. I mean, there are different cultures. I've worked in different types of environments. I was a sommelier for a while, so I worked in kitchens.
Yeah.
I've worked in corporate environments. I've worked in kind of startup environments, and every environment has a different culture, and there are standards, right?
Yes.
There are lines
Yeah.
about what is appropriate. So
Yeah. Boy, kitchens do push that, though, because I have worked in kitchens before, too, and people get shouty.
yes. You know, there are knives, there's fire, all kinds of things can happen in the kitchen.
Tempers can run hot.
Yes. And I would say, you know, starting out when I was very young and I worked as a server, I think you learn everything you need to know about everything from working front of house and back of house.
Yeah.
Yeah. You learn how to manage people.
Trial by actual fire.
Yes, exactly.
That's fun. How can women lower the ladder? And what I mean by that is intentionally create space and open doors for other women in their spaces. When you achieve a certain level of success or leadership, how can you extend that back down?
I would even start before that, though, Chloe. I'd say the very first thing I'd share is that you model leadership even if you don't have the title or the position.
Yeah.
And I really believe that strongly, that we are all leaders.
I love that.
In every way. So it's about how you show up every day, what you say, what you do, how you live your values. And so I really believe that. then in a leadership position, you certainly have more opportunity to open doors for others.
Yeah.
And so, I'd share that I have just been so fortunate through my whole career that women have mentored me and coached me and helped me along the way. I've also had men do the same, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of, what I want to do. I try to mentor, I try to coach. And I also think about something that's important is with younger women, making sure they understand that what they're bringing to the table is incredibly valuable and impactful. So like I think about you, I think about Ariana, I think about the younger women in my circle. Whether we call it mentoring up or reverse mentoring, like women in my demographic have so much to learn. Well, all leaders in my demographic have so much to learn. And so just appreciating and that you all know that what you bring is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely true. I think everyone should take those moments to assess their accomplishments, especially, we've talked before on the show, like when I read people's bios and they're like, man, I sound really good. And it's like, yes. And, we should take more moments to celebrate our accomplishments and look at them in the list and be like, wow, I have done so much and I've come so far. And that's true even for people that are younger in their career. Like Ariana and I, we'll both turn 30 this year.
Amazing.
I know. It's very exciting, and still I feel like I'm so early in my professional career. I have been in like a supervision management position for about 2 years now, and I still learn every day what that means and how to talk to people and how to encourage them, but also how to give difficult feedback. And it's not often that I stop and take stock of everything that I've learned, and how far I've come since before. But even before, obviously I had to have been demonstrating those leadership qualities or they wouldn't have considered me for the position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you're not learning, you're not growing. Like I learn every day about leadership, about how to, right now I have a really big challenge in front of me getting the Center for Innovation and Collaboration up and running.
Yeah.
And it takes everything that I've learned through my whole career, and I'm still learning. And I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard before, if you're not learning and growing, that's not the space for you anymore, right? Like maybe it's time
then
to
it's time.
move on, search for something new that will challenge you. You don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room.
Right.
Yeah. What are some ways that we can, what a great question to follow with. What are some ways that we can support other women that may be earlier in their careers at work?
Yeah, I think, there are so many things that we can do. I definitely want to touch on some things that are more, they may seem small and they may seem kind of day to day. And I think those are the things that are most impactful.
Yeah, they really add up.
Yeah. So for younger women and all women, I'd say one thing that's important is making sure that your voices are being heard. And where that comes to play in the day-to-day, as you know, is in meetings.
Yes.
And so when we're in meetings, you need to be paying attention to the dynamic in the meeting. And so if someone is getting interrupted and it happens to be a younger woman on the team, make sure one thing we can do is very politely call it out. Oh, Chloe was making a point. I really want to hear what Chloe has to say.
Yeah.
You can do that. That doesn't, shut anyone down.
Right.
It's very respectful. And it's also making space for that woman to say what she wants to say. And I see it happen in meetings all the time.
I do too.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's such a gentle way to take the conversation back to them without making the other person feel too chagrined. But at the same time, they probably recognize, oh, I did interrupt them. And maybe they won't do it again the next time.
Maybe. And for some people, that's just their communication style. So you need to kind of understand, when I was talking about the dynamics, it's something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
You know, in meetings, whether they're on Zoom or they're in person, like observing all the nonverbals, what is really going on? What's the conversation under the conversation?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm originally from New York, so we call interrupting overlapping. So I myself have been guilty of overlapping, as we like to say.
Right.
You know, the other thing that we see a lot in meetings, and not just in meetings, but in general in the workplace that can happen, is someone taking credit for someone else's idea.
Yep.
Right? I mean, so that's one of the things, we were talking about advocacy earlier. I mean, it's happened to me in my career where I've worked really hard and then someone has taken credit for my hard work, and that is just soul crushing. But in the situation where that happens in a meeting, you can kind of intervene, again, very gently. You know, you can just say, oh, Chloe raised that idea earlier in the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear more from Chloe. And it's really, again, it's not meant to shut someone down. It's just to raise the awareness in the room that, oh, we heard this idea. And we want to hear more from the person who brought the idea to the table.
Yeah, I love that. I always, if someone gives me credit for something that wasn't my idea, I'm like, oh, actually, this was this person's. Like, wasn't it such a great idea? I love that they came up with that, and now I get to implement it. It's huge to give credit to people and make them feel, you know, like they're valued and they're heard and their ideas are meaningful in the workplace. So any chance I get to do that, I take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you were asking about how do we support younger women. I think that's a really key way to, you know, help reinforce that what you bring is valuable.
Yeah.
Your ideas, your opinions, your experience, even if you feel it's limited, is of value.
Yeah. It's still a perspective that nobody else in the room has. And you're in the position for a reason. Yeah.
And that's what, I mean, good communication, I mean, that's really what we strive to do, is to make sure that all voices are heard.
Yeah. My final question for you, what does this idea of genuine allyship from men look like? And what is one action that male leaders can take to be better allies for gender equity, so that when women are faced with speaking up for themselves, it's not even a thought to cringe away from it. It's just natural, right?
Right. You know, I have been so fortunate in my career. I have had some fabulous male colleagues, and I've had some really amazing managers. And what I would say that they do, and I'm including my current boss, you know, they give me credit for my work. They support me when I'm not in the room.
That's huge.
And that is huge, because I have been thrown under the bus in some situations, you know, and they, you know, you genuinely know that your work is valued and appreciated. And so, it's a really big thing to know that you have that kind of support in the workplace. And the reality is, and I think we talked about this earlier, I think your manager or your boss really understands that you succeeding reflects well on them and is ultimately the best for the organization. Right. So
why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? It's all a win-win. It's fantastic. Again, I think what male leaders can do, and it's the simple, small, day-to-day things. I really think it's about making sure that your voice is heard.
Yeah. And maybe even taking feedback themselves. If they touch your arm and you don't like that, and you share it with them, not being retaliatory, but really listening and trying to not do that again.
What I would share that I've learned over many years, and now I'm in a position where it's true as well, leaders get very little feedback. People are, I was just talking to a colleague of mine about this. The higher you get in the organization, the less feedback you get, and there's a barrier there. And so most of the leaders we talk to or give feedback really appreciate getting the feedback.
Yeah. Please tell me how I'm doing.
They're a bit in a bubble.
Yeah.
You know, and I would just share, as with anyone, to have a good relationship, make sure you're also sharing positive feedback as well as constructive feedback. And, you know, constructive feedback sounds like it would be even better if. So it's a suggestion, right?
Yeah.
And that helps someone really see like, oh, there's a space where I could improve or I could do better.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're always learning and growing, like we said.
Yes. And I absolutely appreciate feedback.
Yeah. And I really value, because I work at a company like this where it feels very flat in that the leaders really listen to us. They value our opinions. They want to hear what we have to say down to the new hires. So that's also very meaningful, and it makes people feel like they're approachable, you know, and then if they did have feedback, they could give it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So don't be afraid to give feedback.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was wonderful to get some of your insight and your wisdom, and hopefully anyone who listens to this can move forward with more of a heart for self-advocacy and allyship for others as well. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much, Chloe. It was fun.
Good. And we will hopefully see you next week on Let's Talk More on Monday. Make sure to check out our Patreon with our master classes with Bria and Ariana. There are some wonderful learning opportunities there as well. And make sure you pick up your copy of Issue 12, which is coming very soon as of this recording.
Excited.
Yes. There are some great pieces in there as well. So we will see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.